We want content. They said, we want content. Where is my 15-minute video talking about how I can do anything and everything in a speculatory manner that I can eat dinner to at every time of every day? We want content. Sorry, Zan, I'm just giving you. Okay. But I did want to talk about this because it is interesting. Because going into the new expansion, The War Within, we're getting these hero talents. And here's the mock up for the Mountain Thane. Excuse me. Which is the Fury and Prot specialization. Little combiney tree, right? Mountain Thane embodies the strength of the mountains and the power of the storms. Like a Wildhammer clan or something. Volstad Wildhammer. They channel lightning, thunder and lightning through their reinforced bodies to make them an unstoppable force. They like the Earthern, kinda. Because Earthern did that shit. But let's go into these talent points. Or try and reset this a little easier for everybody. Base 1, Lightning Strikes. Damaging enemies with Thunderclap, Revenge, Raging Blow, or Execute has a 10% chance to also cause Strike 1 with a Lightning Bolt doing moderate nature. Okay. Lightning Strikes occur 50% more often during Avatar. Okay. That's fun. And then we have our split. This is interesting, and it does give us a bigger burst window in Avatar, which is our big numbies window. So let's go over to Call of Thunder. For Storm Strike or nature damage. Wait. Storm Strike or nature damage your abilities deal. So I guess Storm Strike is a new type of damage. That will be alongside this spec. Or I guess Storm Strike might be like Thunderclap kind of shit. Deal by 5%. Storm Strike damage ignores armor. Thunderclap damage increased by 50%. Okay. So it's just more damage, more threat. Fury. Storm Strike or nature damage, your abilities deals increased by 5%. It ignores armor. Thunderclap damage increased by 50%. It generates 5 rage. Improve Whirlwind to Meat Cleaver. Now improve Thunderclap as well as Whirlwind. Does that mean you get Whirlwind stacks by Thunderclapping instead of having to Whirlwind? Or do you like, is Thunderclap like another? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what that means or what that is. I couldn't. Ground Current. Lightning strikes also deal low damage to enemies near their target. Damage reduced beyond 5. Okay, well that's just passive AoE. That's good, and it goes with the theme. Shield Slam damage increased by 20%. Bloodthirst and Rampage damage increased by 10%. Just flat damn. That's fine. Shield Slam and Bloodthirst have a 20% chance to grant you Thunder Blast, stacking up to 2 charges. Thunder Blast. Your next Thunderclap becomes a Thunder Blast that deals Storm Strike damage. Okay, so this is how it cycles into it. You're going to be using your ability during your rotation, getting these procs that give you Storm Strike damage, which do damage, ignore armor, buffs itself. Okay, so it's a system that feeds into itself and provides at least Fury, which never really would use Thunderclap before, another interesting button potentially. That's cool. Storm Shield. Intervening a target grants them a shield for 5 seconds that absorbs magic damage equal to 3 times your armor. That can be pretty. Stormbolt also hits 2 additional nearby targets, stunning them for 2 seconds. That one's kind of boring and not that great. Any pulls that you're going to do that have multiple targets, like I guess a little more AoE stuns is cool. But one of the bigger problems with something like Intimidating Shout, because it's not untapped, is that you can't guarantee you're hitting targets you want. So when you do these big pulls, it's not actually an AoE stop. It just hit the abilities you want. So I mean, I guess that's cool. Could be good, probably really good for PvP as well. Go over. Chance for lightning strikes to critically strike is increased by 5%, and their critical strike damage is increased by 10%. Lightning strikes reduce the cooldown of Ravager by. We have a problem. and it's mainly dealing with our current talent system. It might need adjusting, but the issue we would have here is, I guess, if we're playing anger management and we already have recklessness uptime, just getting more Ravagers is good. However, desyncing Ravager from recklessness is kind of annoying since they both are reduced by AM. So your Ravager is going to be up a lot more if we're running anger management with this talent. I mean, it just adds a button you'd have to press instead of macro them together, so it's not that bad. It is good. You have to consider Hurricane, which gives us 30% bonus damage too. This is all, of course, assuming they're not going to change any of these talents leading into giving us these hero talents. I'm not sure. But it seems pretty good. I mean, there are a decent amount of like AoE options here. Like this does AoE. This will be more AoE. None of this helps Warrior just do AoE. Like I don't like the essentially what feels like borrowed power systems. So our class actually in like a Mythic Plus setting. So I wish they would just do away with the caps and just do the reduced beyond X amount of targets thing for everything. All right. Steadfast as the peaks. Victory Rush increases your maximum health by 10% for 5 seconds. That's actually pretty good. That means that if Impending Victory stays the way it is and it works like this, you're going to have a 10% max health on like 25-second smaller defensive. That's actually pretty good for defensive value. Keep your feet on the ground. Thunderblast reduces the damage you take by 4% for 5 seconds. This is just general MIT, and it's probably pretty good. Depending on how things work and how encounter design is, you can have an additional 4% damage reduction just from doing your rotation, and you could potentially tie it up with something like defensive stance, or the war paint talent from Fury is also very, very where we essentially have like crazy amount of damage reduction. So this could just add to the tankiness theory, which, depending how tanky it is, this 10% max health might be far more valuable in overall effective health compared to the damage reduction. But for tanks, this damage reduction might be more valuable because of their armor health pool. It'll be interesting if these stay and what we choose. Your attacks trigger lightning strikes 15% more often. Lightning strikes generate 3 rage. Spend raging blow and execute. Damage increased by 15%. That's just our builders. The execute damage buff is pretty good, but I feel like depending on what we're rolling, if we have this lightning strikes trigger plus Valajar training, if we're running AM and we already have a large uptime Hurricane and we're just fucking spamming these Ravagers out, might be really strong and be very good in AoE. The flat damage thing is kind of boring, but this has more potential in terms of what you could be doing with your class. And it would change how we would play our class with these talents as well, considering using Thunderclap would be very, very new. But because it bypasses armor and shit, it might be pretty good. Let's see. Lightning Strikes have a 20% chance to make your next 2 Shield Slams, or Bloodthirst have no cooldown. I mean, depending on what we're playing, we're probably spamming Raging Blow anyway, unless they're going to do a different talent or setup where this Bloodthirst thing might be more effective. But even if we're running something like Reckless Abandon, a Bloodthirst not having cooldown doesn't change anything. All Bloodthirst not having cooldown would realistically do is allow us to just not run out of buttons to press. I don't know. This feels way, way better for something like Prot with 2 shield slams just insta. But Bloodthirst is kind of weird. If anything, maybe they could make this. Maybe they could change this over to your executes have no cooldown, so you can actually just slam some executes depending on what's going on, and you can maybe build something more execute centric around your attacks are triggering lightning strikes. And okay, fucking with me. He's just doing that to fuck with me. But yeah, it might even be you could make it more an execute centric build. Like if you take like even if it has no cooldown, even if you're casting twice as many and you have more lightning strikes and you're just fucking slamming execute over and over again, might be cool. Might be interesting. Let's see. Final one, Avatar of the Storm. It has potential, but who knows, right? The final one, or I guess I'm over so you can read it too. My face is probably blocking it. Avatar of the Storm. Casting Avatar grants you 2 charges of Thunderblast and resets Thunderclap. While Avatar is not active, lightning strikes have a 10% chance to grant you Avatar for 4 seconds. Your next Thunderclap becomes a Thunderblast, dealing Storm Strike damage. So, this is just a lot of AoE and just a lot of general throughput. It's like, I mean, this talent is just half the value of our current talent in game that gives us a 20% chance every time we rampage to gain recklessness. So if we're running like an AM build, we have this Avatar of the Storm talent, keep your feet on the ground, Thunder Blast, like we have this Thunder Blast, or maybe they want to make Bloodthirst far more central with this, because we have the free Bloodthirst talent here. Bloodthirst has a chance to grant you Thunder Blast. Casting Avatar gives you Thunder Blast. Maybe it's just expecting you to spam the living shit out of Thunderclap. I don't know. But if you're running like AM and you're getting Avatar procs and you're getting Recklessness procs and you're constantly increasing your strength through the strength training of throwing out Hurricane with as Valajar training, there's a decent amount of potential choice here. Some passive, some active, some builds might be kind of good, but because a lot of the system at least feeds into itself. The one thing that is interesting more so than anything is that this Thunderclap Thunderblast damage straight up ignores armor, and it's getting buffed by multiple things and has a chance to Avatar buff. So like if you randomly proc an Avatar from a lightning strike, you're just slamming T-Clap, which is kind of weird. But then one thing that's very weird about T-Clap is we don't get rend as Fury, so it's not like we're spreading bleeds at all. We're just slamming a T-Clap. But also on top of that, we have the talent that is improved Whirlwind and Meat Cleaver, now improved Thunderclap as well as Whirlwind. So I guess it's changing whenever you have these Thunder Blasts, you're slamming you're slamming that, and then whenever you don't, you're using Whirlwind. But does Thunderclap give you Meat Cleaver stacks, and Whirlwind is still capped? How capped is Thunderclap? Kind of interesting. And it has potential. It is very thunder themed. Weirdly enough, you're probably gonna see a lot of dwarf warriors running the pre-order armor set with the current electrified hammers from the trading post, and then they're just like, oh, thunder, 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 thunder. It's like fucking, I don't know. It's like the Avatar of Lightning if it was Eric Andre. Nightmare, 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 nightmare. But thunder, 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 thunder. You know what I mean? But this has potential. It's kind of interesting. But it feels, one thing I'm not a big fan of is, especially since Bloodthirst is not like a great button for us, like it actually doesn't do a lot of damage. If Bloodthirst is just trying to feed into more Thunderclaps for Fury, that's really weird. This spec feels way more tilted towards arm or towards prot. This doesn't have nearly enough what I would consider Fury flavor in it. A lot of this feels like it was built around Prot Warrior, and then Fury was added to it more so than Fury really being actively considered as much as Prot is. Because it seems very cool for Prot. But we haven't even looked at like Colossus yet. But this seems very, very good as far as like AoE is concerned and all that kind of crap, right? But as someone who's definitely more of a DPS enjoyer, there's nothing in here that's like outside of this like Ravager talent. It's like percent damage, percent damage, percent damage, more lightning strikes, 3 bloodthirsts. Yes, button we have. I don't know. It feels very weird. Maybe if in single targets, it like all of this is all about Thunderclap, but what if instead as well it also buffed like um if this also buffed like let's say they want a Bloodthirst to be a good button. Right now it's obviously physical and mitigated by armor. What if we can change these Thunder Blasts and consume it with a Bloodthirst hit instead of a Thunderclap, right? Obviously these things are being buffed. You can probably buff like Bloodthirst as well potentially with some of these talents. But what if instead we were consuming these procs in AoE with T-Clap, but single target with Bloodthirst, and then Bloodthirst can have you can change Bloodthirst to be like electrically charged or something to go along with the whole Mountain Thane theme. It just feels like it needs like I think the cook here is pretty good for Prot right now, but it doesn't feel cooked enough for Fury as far as like how interesting it is. It has potential, but a lot of it is damage plus, damage, damage plus, more lightning strikes, and hey, now clapping. I don't know. It feels way more super prop than I have, but these are very, very early. Obviously, there's plenty of things to reiterate, plenty of things they could change. And I'm here to give my opinion and how I feel about it when I'm just looking at it as a warrior. Looks cool. A very nice early look. I am more than interested in what Slayer is going to be because obviously DPS man. But I think Slayer has something interesting, and Colossus I think could have a lot of potential for arms. A previous video talking about fixing arms, fixing warrior in my cooks on arms. One of the biggest issues arms really has is it doesn't really have flat DRs in defensive. It has ignore pain currently, which is a bad button to press now, and I don't think anybody wants to press that button, even though it's better in higher end content because you actually have some form of mitigation instead of healing through bleeds, which healing through bleeds doesn't do much when you're dead, right? So you need those shields and mitigators, that kind of thing. So ignore pain's decent there, but as far as arms' overall viability on a survival standpoint, I think Colossus may have a lot of coming up for making arms feel weight in that department. Slayer, like I said, I'm interested in because let's see what they got. Let's do big damn. But so far, not bad. Not a bad cook. I look forward to the additional changes and tweaks to see how what they think about it, what they feel about it. But that's how I'm feeling about it. And how are you feeling? I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'll toss this up, and then I will see you when I see you. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.